Greetings, YouTube. I live in a democracy, and in my democracy, the closest thing we have to a sacred ritual would be the vote. Our vote is supposed to be sacrosanct, a near divine power that each individual could exercise every 2 or so years. I have an election coming up in November. I'm really looking forward to it because I'm sick to death of all the campaign ads. And one of the things you can't do with your vote in America is sell it. So if I were to put an ad out that said, "Hey, Mr. Politician, you give me $1,000 and I'll give you my vote," that would be illegal, and I could be arrested and charged with a crime, though I don't technically know what the definition of that crime would be. Probably voter fraud. So it's illegal for me, an American citizen, to sell my vote. However, it is more than legal for the politicians in America to sell theirs, because that's exactly what they do when they accept money from the very wealthy or from the lobby groups that represent the very wealthy to vote for or against whichever policies that the person giving out the money does or does not support. Because that's exactly what they're doing. Those campaign contributions, those are bribes. They're legal at the moment, but they're bribes. They've always been bribes. They always will be bribes until we, as an American people, step up to the line and say, no more bribes. But that's going to be really hard to get through because, let's face it, the people who would be implementing such a law are the politicians that benefit from the bribes. So even though that they theoretically represent us, the voters, I'm sure that they'll find some wonderful means of getting around the fact that they really can't vote for that for whatever reason they come up with. I've spoken before that I believe that we need to change campaign financing here in America. For example, stripping corporations of personhood. That right there would be a big step in the right direction. And I also believe that every single cent, or any fraction of a cent, that is donated to a politician needs to be completely transparent. Every organization, every individual that wants to donate any money at all to a politician or to a lobby group or to any other organization that would then front that money to a politician would have to identify themselves clearly and plainly. So none of this soft money being put out by fictitious organizations that just create themselves overnight just to put up an ad campaign to support a politician, and then they disappear the next day. Now that kind of thing would have to go away. Now it's easier to track the hard money, which is donated directly to politicians. But the soft money, like the Swift vote ads that were so prevalent in the 2004 election that helped an actual war hero lose to a man who that was a joke of a military career, yeah, that kind of soft money, that needs to be tracked as well. We need to eliminate it. And with the Supremes recently making the decision that corporations can essentially spend as much money as they want in any way they choose to back any politician they like, we need to stop that as well. We need to track every single cent or fraction thereof to its source. Now I say fraction thereof because I know if we passed a law saying that every cent were tracked, they would find a way of donating fractions of a cent just so that it would be under the radar of that law. So I've learned a little legalese already from the reading I've done about politics. But of course, again, this law would have to be supported by politicians who benefit from all this hard and soft campaign donations. So I don't imagine it's ever going to happen. It just wouldn't be popular, particularly among conservatives who oh so love the money funneled to them from the uber rich in this nation, which is funneled from the general population originally, because all those tax breaks come out of our pockets. For example, if we don't roll back the Bush tax breaks they are currently enjoying, it's going to cost us $700 billion over the next decade. That's $700 billion we don't have to benefit people who all make over $1 million a year. And frankly, I don't think any of them need a tax break. In fact, I would increase their taxes significantly, up to the Nixon era level of 70%. Yes, I know that makes me a dirty, filthy socialist, but guess what? I'm a dirty, filthy socialist. And I don't think the uber rich should continue to increase their wealth on my back. So, politicians keep selling their votes, and that bothers me. So I'd like the law changed in one of two ways. Make it so the politicians can't sell their votes, or make it so that I can sell my vote. Make it fair and square. Make it even for everyone. Now, of course, the former idea, changing it so that the politicians can't sell their votes, isn't going to fly. And the latter, that I would be able to, is going to run counter to of our tradition here in America. But I think it really brings into focus just how absurd this situation is. If I can't sell my votes, why can politicians? I've never gotten a good answer to that question. I would love if a conservative could tell me why it's okay for a politician to sell his vote, and why it's not okay to sell mine. Wouldn't that in fact be pretty much, well, next to prostitution, the ultimate act of capitalism?